Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to WWE Know Your Role. This is one of my favorite episodes. I'm Ryan.
I'm Victoria, brother and sister of Providence. Today's episode is about women in wrestling.
Yes, it is.
I have been known to be a diva hater, so I've actually been looking forward to this one more
Quite a hater.
more than anything. I am a diva hater. I hate that they're called divas. I like women wrestlers, and we don't have those really anymore. So fuck the divas.
You're being Dave Chappelle's hater ball right now.
Oh, dude, number one. Hate. But my number 5 on the list is Mae Young. Started out way back in the day, and she was a grappler wrestler, because back then they didn't have the high flyers and all. It was really kind of like high school wrestling, mat wrestling. That's how she started. But as time went on, she kind of grew along with the company. Like, she was kind of out for a while, but she started to come back in, and then she was in the Attitude Era. So she was probably in her 70s, maybe 80s when this happened.
There, yeah.
Probably 75 maybe when it started. Anyways, at 75 years old, she went through a table. She went through a table. How rad is that? I don't want to go through a table. And I'm in my late 20s.
And that was off the Titan, well, not Titan drum, but the
ramp.
Stage. I think.
Yeah. Like,
That
how
was pretty-
cool is she?
It's pretty badass.
And not only that, it's just she had the best little, I don't know what to call it, like a storyline with Mark Henry when he was Sexual Chocolate. I looked forward to watching Raw for DX and Mae Young, which seems so stupid, but it was true. It was funny. She gave birth to a hand, which was so dumb, but I loved it, and it was enjoyable, and it was something to watch where I could laugh a little. And I love Mae Young. She's my number 5. Go Mae Young.
Yeah, the best thing about Mae Young was she adapted with the times.
Yeah.
She did her stuff back in the day and was a good wrestler, and then as time went on, she became more and more, and then Attitude Era. She took on Attitude Era and did what she did, and to be able to adapt with anything is hard, and the way she did it was definitely deserving of being in our top. So
Sure, she showed her puppies.
yeah,
She showed her
exactly.
puppies.
Oh
She
gosh.
showed her puppies.
I know. I was gonna say that, but I thought, nah, I just don't want to.
Don't wanna remember, don't wanna
yeah,
remember.
exactly. But anyway, she did. So good for you, May. So my number 5. For 5, I really wanted to go current. I wanted to get somebody current on there because it's really hard to do. But I thought for current, you know what? Paige. Paige is a good wrestler. To me, she's the only real legitimate wrestler on that roster. Now, some could say AJ Lee, but to be honest, she's the best wrestler on this whole squad right now, and she's the one carrying it. Just to be current, I wanted to throw her on the list, and she deserves it. I mean, the last pay-per-view, she can take bumps, she can take bruises, she can throw her body and do all those things, especially at the era we are at now, and being able to do that. I mean, that's really awesome, and she sells things really well. She's really vocal in the ring, really agile in the ring, and I thought to leave somebody out currently, let's get someone in there currently, and to me, the only one there is Paige.
I do like Paige. I fear for Paige a lot because I'm afraid the WWE might not really know what they have, and really, Paige doesn't have anybody to wrestle. I mean, she has AJ Lee, and I like AJ Lee, but that's all the talent they have. For females, really talent. So I pray that someone comes along to help AJ Lee out, and she can help whoever out, or maybe she'll make someone else a bigger name.
Well, no,
I
agree, because I thought the last pay-per-view they kind of screwed Paige over, and they didn't give her the time slot that she needed, because I thought they could have put on a long, good match, and they didn't do that. They just kind of give them a quick, you got 5 minutes, and it's like, come on. Paige can wrestle for 10 minutes and put on a great show, so, hopefully WWE does something more and better with her, but I have no problem putting her at number 5 in my list.
That's okay. I can see that. So my number 4 is not a wrestler, but I loved her when she first came out. That's Terry Reynolds. I love when she came out as Marlena, and she would come to the ring, she wouldn't say anything, and she was very, mysterious, and she would sit on ringside in her little chair and smoke cigars. Like, that is so fucking cool. Like, I wanted to be her. And she did managing right. She didn't say much.
Mm-hmm.
But she had her purse, her little gold purse, and she would put a brick in it. And she would hand it to Goldust. I love a heel manager. And what I loved about Terry Runnels is that she did it the way I've always wanted to see during that time. Because the managers were kind of leaving. And she kind of brought them back a little bit, I think. And I just loved that she was a cheater and that she was mysterious. And I didn't really like the later Terry Runnels. But I did like when she first came out a lot. And I liked her more than Sable, which, you know, a lot of other wrestling fans I knew back then thought I was crazy. But I like Terry.
No, Terry was great. I mean, especially with Goldust. I mean, that was where Terry shined. I mean, with Goldust, I mean, that whole mysterious thing and her being able to, like, because she really, I mean, Goldust was great on his own, obviously. I mean, he continued. But with Terry, I mean, it just elevated Goldust to another level. And even after, Terry was still awesome. I mean, I love Terry, so.
I know.
Go Terry.
We're your number one fan.
Yes, we are. All right, so my number 4 is Sunny. You gotta love Sunny. You know, Sunny started out with the Body Donnas, and you know, it's fun. You know, she took on the heel role there, and it was good. And then, but then after she kind of like separated from that and became her own, she really became the first diva. She was the first diva. Some people say Sable, but that's not true. It was Sunny. Sunny was she was kind of like that sex symbol, but then she also, not only that, but she was a great heel. I mean, she'd go down the announcer tables during matches and just do all her heel stuff with the King. Hilarious stuff. And yeah, and I thought she was like the beginning of the Divas. She was not, I didn't think, she was the beginning of the Divas division or whatever you want to call it. And on top of that, she was just that great heel, and to not put her on the list is a shame. So, Sunny, hell yeah.
I like Sunny because I see a lot of Jim Cornette in her. Just talking shit, but she had some style to her, and it was just, I wish that there was more Sunnys around. Because she didn't wrestle much, she was just kind of there, and you know, she can be sexy, and she can show her body, which is totally fine, I really don't mind that, but I liked how dirty she was. She was mean. She was mean, but she was girl mean. She wasn't, you know, like a big bully, but she was girl mean. And it was so cool because then girls like me who watched it, you know, had something to kind of follow behind and really, really like that wasn't, you know, man-based. So, and I wish Sunny would come back. I hope that she cleans up her act one day and everything goes good for her and she comes back to the WWE because I think that's where she belongs. She belongs in the WWE doing something, raising hell. I really want Sunny back.
She's a little washed up now, but
I'll still watch for you.
I love Sunny, but
I'll still watch
we'll
for
see.
you, Sunny. So my next one, who I absolutely love, and she really what got me into wrestling, especially female wrestling, and that was Sensational Sherri. She started out in AWA where she actually wrestled, and she was damn good. She's a mean bitch, and I loved her. But then when she went to the WWF at the time, they really were kind of getting away from women wrestling because it just wasn't, they were doing the big bodies of the men, so they really had no room for the women. And then she became a manager. And she managed the best people ever. Macho Man. She did Shawn Michaels, and then she did Ted DiBiase. So cool. And she had such a presence about her. Like, she really wasn't beautiful, but the way she portrayed herself made her sexy. Because she was mean. And I loved her feuds, and I loved her voice. It was very raspy, and you knew when she was coming down because she was so loud. I even liked when she went to WCW, and she was managing the Harlem Heat. Bitch can take a fucking bump. She can take a bump. Like, there was one pay-per-view where they were doing like they were doing like a backstage brawl with Harlem Heat, and she got into the mix, and they ended up throwing her through a table. Like, that didn't happen back then. This is a little pre-Attitude Era, so like, you didn't see much of that. And you just knew she was mean, and I loved her, and I'm so happy she got in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, you know, Sherri was actually actually my favorite name for her was Scary Sherry.
Oh yeah,
I
Scary
thought,
Sherry was
I
badass.
thought that was perfect.
It's so fitting.
I know, I thought it was perfect for her, but I mean, Sensational Sherry was her name, but Scary Sherry was awesome. But yeah, she was really that first woman to go in there and like, you know, dish it out to the boys. She was that first one who didn't care. Like, you're guys, I don't care. I'll cheat with you. I'll hit you guys over the head with whatever. And she was that first person, I think, manager-wise, when a guy had her as a manager, you're like, oh man, he's gonna go somewhere now because he's got
Sherry.
Sherry, like she don't care. She's gonna take him down, and that was intimidating. I thought it was a really intimidating factor because most wrestlers would go in there and be like, okay, I'm going against so and so, and Sherry's the manager's like, oh shit, now I have to look after the other person.
Oh, and fight dirty too.
Yeah, and when you had another, you know, when they had their female like whatevers, you know, you weren't so worried about them. But with Sherry, you're like, oh shit, here goes Sherry.
I know, I agree, and I just.
And the other great thing was as fans now, you know, you'd watch the match and you see Sherry there and like, what's she gonna do now? You know, because you knew Sherry was gonna do something in that match. I mean, she wasn't just gonna stand there and go guy, you know? No, that was not her at all.
No, I liked her and Macho because they're both kind of crazy talkers. Yeah. So when you'd have these like interviews, it was like watching Ultimate Warrior, but a little more understandable. So it was kind of like what I always wanted from the Ultimate Warrior. So it's kind of cool.
Sometimes she kind of screeched and you didn't know what, you were just kind of like, oh my gosh.
I liked it.
But you knew it was something crazy.
At least she wasn't talking about the rocket fuel.
Yeah, that's true. So speaking of Macho Man, my number 3 has to be Miss Elizabeth. And to not put Miss Elizabeth on it is a sin. So Miss Elizabeth, I mean, she was the first woman, she was just the first woman, like, manager. Like, the sex symbol, you know, and to not put Elizabeth on it, I mean, it's just not right. So, I mean, she did... I mean, I don't want. I put her number 3 because I mean she wasn't my favorite by any means, but I mean it's Macho Man and Miss Elizabeth, and you know that they had the wedding and the proposal and everything. It was really big and it was great for wrestling and kind of showed both sides. So, yeah, for number 3, I got to put Miss Elizabeth on there, and for that reason and that reason only.
I didn't like Miss Elizabeth.
Yeah, but you got to put Miss Elizabeth on there. I mean, but that's because you don't know wrestling. So
no, she's a damsel in distress. I don't need that. I don't need to save a woman. I want someone who can, fend for themselves.
Okay, but she was the first real woman like manager. Like
I wouldn't even call her a manager. She just
she
cried at the ring when her man wasn't doing it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just hating. I didn't like Miss Elizabeth.
Everybody in the early 80s was all over Miss Elizabeth. Everybody was watching Macho Man, sure, because Macho Man was the man, but still, Miss Elizabeth made that. Not made it, but... Yeah,
and then she called it Lex Luger? Like, stupid. I didn't like it.
Well, why do you think I didn't mention Lex Luger?
Because it's awful. It's awful. I didn't like it at all. Whatever.
You have to put Elizabeth on there.
No, you don't. I bet you
everybody who was watching knows you have to put Elizabeth on there, and that's a crying shame.
Give me a good reason. She was a good cheerleader. Like
she was the first. She was the first sex symbol in wrestling. She was the first like real like manager, like pretty manager lady. I mean, everybody followed Miss Elizabeth. Everybody wanted to know about Miss Elizabeth. Everybody wanted to know about her life and everything. To not put her on there, you're crazy.
Sensational Sherry.
See, that's just because she's a hater on the women. So, you know, some guys got to do it.
So
go to your next.
My next one is who I talk about constantly to Ryan all the time, and I want to see her in the Hall of Fame, and she hasn't gotten in there yet.
Sable.
The WWE is so stupid for not putting her on there. I can't believe you said that.
I just had to. I know. I just had to like pause you there and piss you off because you pissed me off on the last one.
Miss Elizabeth's so stupid.
Just continue.
Anyways, so one day I hope this coming year they put her in the Hall of Fame because she deserves it, and that's Luna Vachon.
She does.
She does. She was a bad motherfucker. Bad. And she could wrestle and beat the shit out of people. She made Sable look good. Like, who else did that? Nobody. Like, I like Jacqueline. She didn't make Sable look good. No one did. Luna Vachon could because she was so skilled and she had, family background in wrestling and her look was something to talk about.
Quite.
She was so different. I liked that she was ugly and I liked that she had a horrible voice. I liked everything about her because she was so not womanly. But she was. Like, she would be sexy but rough. And that was just so cool. And I just remember looking up to her as a kid, and I always wanted to play Luna Vachon on video games. And I always talked about her because there was something about her that always attracted me to her. Something. And it was just that she was just so different. She wasn't the Miss Elizabeth. She was rough. And I love her best feud was with Sensational Sherry. Those two can brawl. They kind of do women's style sometimes where they pull their hair, but they can also beat the shit out of each other. So I just enjoyed watching Luna, and I couldn't wait till she managed somebody, because then I was always interested with the person she was managing. I don't know what it is. There's something about her that I absolutely love. Please put her in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, Luna, in the ring, Luna was good. You can't deny that. My favorite person Luna was with was actually Bam Bam Bigelow.
Oh, God,
I liked
so good.
I thought when her and Bam Bam Bigelow were together, I thought it was just the perfect mesh. Because he didn't say as much, and they were both kind of crazy in their own way, but she was like the vocal point to it, and I thought she was really good with more quiet wrestlers, so they didn't really have to speak as much, and she could be their vocal point, Yeah,
agree.
and that's why, and like I said, she was also really good in the ring. So, Luna on there for your number 2, I have no problem with that. No problem at all.
Say that she needs to go in the Hall of Fame.
Luna should go in the Hall of Fame.
His and Gwen Stable.
No. Okay, so my number 2, Sable. No, would have to be the Fabulous Moolah. What didn't she do in that ring? Now, the Moolah, she held the title for the longest title run ever. WWE states that she's been the longest title holder in any sport. Could be true. I'm not sure about that, but she is the longest title holder in wrestling, WWE, WWF, whatever. She also, in 2010, WWE came up with their top wrestlers. She was 27th top wrestler in the history of WWE. That's just to show you what kind of, wrestler she was. She was a tough bitch. And she could take down anybody. And she was really good in that ring. Not only that, but then as times adapted, kind of like with the Mae Young, because her and Mae Young kind of got together and stuff, and she adapted with time as well, just as much as Mae. Maybe not as much as Mae, but close enough. Not only that, but she also became the oldest women's wrestler champion at 76 years old in 1999. So, everything she did through her career was amazing. You could talk about anything she did, and she did it. So, number 2, I don't know why I didn't put her number 1, but number 2.
Mae Young, or not Mae Young, but Fabulous Moolah. I get them always mixed up because they're always together, this weird little duo, like Pat Patterson and Jerry Briscoe.
No.
But
The Stooges.
Yeah, they were like the female Stooges. They kind of were in their own little weird way. But Moolah trained a lot of wrestlers.
Yes, she did.
I don't remember the time that she was doing training, but she had her own wrestling school with her husband, I think, at the time. So she trained a lot of the wrestlers that we were watching as kids. Because she was, she was that skilled. She was more of a grappler sort of wrestler.
But that was back that time.
Yeah, that was, and there wasn't really a lot of women wrestlers then. She started really what we know now as women wrestling, not divas, women wrestling. So I'm surprised she's not your number 1.
It happens.
My number 1 is I've always wanted to talk about, and I've always wanted to see on the WWE, on a countdown, anything someone mentioned, China. WWE acts like she's Chris Benoit. I'm sorry, but isn't it true?
Yeah.
They don't mention her
bit.
at all.
A little bit.
They don't mention her at all. Yes, she's had some, weird times or whatever, but we have to recognize what she did for that company. She really was the only person to this day who could keep up with the boys. Who could really keep up with the boys? Who was one of the boys? You didn't watch.
Who could beat the boys? Are you kidding me?
She was one of the boys.
Mm.
Like, there was nobody like her. She was so fresh and so new when she came out. And I liked that she was silent and she was just with DX and she had a sense of humor, but she really didn't have to say much. And then she all of a sudden got in a feud with Chris Jericho, which they put on some good matches.
For the IC belt? Yeah, that was amazing.
And she had the best signature move, the low blow. No one did it like she did. And she wasn't stiff in the ring. For her body size, I always imagine, like, when she got in the ring, like, oh, she's going to be so stiff. Because you just look at her and you can just kind of, like, be like, oh, I think she's going to kind of move a little weird. But she never did. She never did. And that's what I love Chyna. And I really wish they would put her somewhere on a countdown, something. But they don't. And I want to see just more things about Chyna because she was actually such a big part of the Attitude Era that when everyone keeps leaving her out, it makes me feel like why? Is it all political? Like, come on, you have to recognize greatness, and Chyna was great.
So I totally disagree on this. No, I'm joking. I just wanted to piss her off.
You can't piss me off. It's Chyna.
No, she definitely deserves it. I mean, she was the founding member of Double DX. No,
it's true.
No, she was a great wrestler. I mean, even with the guys, she wasn't like the best. I mean, compared to the guys.
No, she's not Shawn Michaels.
I mean, but she put up good matches against the guys. I mean, she faced Jeff Jarrett, which were good matches. She faced, Y2J, like you said. She had faced X-Pac. She had faced all, and she put on good matches. She even did hardcore matches with these guys. And I mean, she can suplex them with ease. Her with DX was amazing, and she was funnier than hell with them. Even though, like you said, she didn't say much, but she just fit with it, and she had such a great reign. And every time she was on there, she was a big deal. She wasn't just some undercard. So yeah, definitely Chyna. You're definitely worthy, and I agree. I think she should definitely be a Hall of Fame, but I don't see that ever happening. With her history and everything with Triple H and with the kind of trouble she got into. I don't see that happening, but I definitely do think I agree that she should be on there.
And no woman could take a bump like Chyna could. No woman could. Not from a man. No. Like, she can get to, like,
I disagree.
Okay.
My number one can.
She had a three-way match with, I think it was Triple H, Undertaker, and her. And she kept getting, like, tombstone pile driver. She got pedigreed. And, like, this bitch can take a bump. And she sells it perfectly. Which some women, they do that, oh, ow. Not her. She took it like a man. I don't like that about Chyna. You keep taking it like a man. Just don't do porn anymore.
She was kind of like a man.
But
anyways.
Yeah, that's kind of true.
Anyways, my number one, who could take a good bump. Not like your man you just put on the list.
I like my man.
My number one's Lita. Now, Lita could take a bump. I mean, Lita could high fly. I mean, she was amazing off that top rope. She was kind of like a Jeff Hardy on that top rope.
She was a Jeff Hardy off that top rope.
Yeah, she was. And not only that, but like I said, she could take the bumps. With when she took that spear from Edge in that pay-per-view. She's jumped off ladders. She's fallen off ladders.
Tables on fire.
Yeah, and then she was with the Rated R Superstar and did all that cheating stuff with him. I mean, that was just phenomenal. She was always she was always on top. She was always on top. When Lita came out, she always got a big bump. I mean, the fans always loved her. Especially when she came out with the G-string all the way up, to her fucking hip. I mean, that was awesome.
Number one.
When
she took off her shirt to do her move.
Number one.
He liked it.
I did. No, but I mean, Lita, she was good in the ring. She was really good in the ring. I mean, she had great matches with Trish. She had great matches with everybody. But I mean, her and Trish, that was the best matches. I mean, she put on by match-wise. But she was with everybody. She did everything right. And Lita was, she was awesome in the ring. She was so much fun. She was always entertaining, and to not have her as my number one just doesn't seem right. So, go Lita.
Here's my thing about Lita.
Oh God, here we go again.
I think Lita is so skilled. She is. She is probably one of the all-time best female wrestlers ever in the world.
I'm waiting.
But for some reason, I wasn't a fan. But I recognize her greatness. It was very weird. You know, there's sometimes that happen where you just see a wrestler and you know that they're good and they have all this skill, but you're just not a fan. That was me with Lita. And it probably is because of what I'm about to say. Are you ready?
Of course. I already know where we're going.
So, we have the ultimate number 1 for our female list.
Because we could not... Because when we started this, we knew who number 1 was.
Yeah, and we tried to fight over it, and it wasn't pretty. So, our ultimate number 1, Trish.
The best.
I fucking loved Trish. She, to me, the full package. She was beautiful. She was talented. She was good in the ring. She could keep up with the boys. And god damn it, can she make a table look sexy. I love Trish.
Right.
I love Trish Stratus. And, best of all, she was Canadian.
Eh?
She was Canadian. I like that in a wrestler.
No, Trish was everything. I mean, she was always on top of her game. I mean, she started out as a great manager.
Mm-hmm.
Then they ended up throwing her into the ring. She was a great Divas champion or women's champ. Sorry,
Not a diva.
Women's champ, but she was actually a diva. But
I know.
she was a great women's champ. She was great on the mic. She was great, and then she'd go back to managing people. She'd go back to, she just kept doing everything, and she was always the best at it. And then like I said with Lita, she had those epic matches with Lita, which were, within the last, within the last, 15 years. I mean, those were the best matches. I mean, the best matches were with Lita and her and she was obviously a way better manager. She had those things with Vince. And,
that was so good. I liked her and Vince together. It was fun. It was fun.
And she was hotter than hell too.
See,
I mean,
this is what I want to say.
Everybody even the guy could just stare at her, and you're just like, I'm sold. Just hit the mute button. You're just like,
I don't even mute her.
Perfect TV.
You didn't even need to mute her. I think she was just the
I know.
full
I didn't
package.
say you didn't have to, but it still
you
worked.
could.
Yeah, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But see, this is where I had this thing about Lita. Is I was such a Trish fan that I felt like I was cheating on Trish if I liked anything about Lita. So I could recognize her skill, but I was so fucking pro Trish, that I couldn't like Lita. So it was like an inner battle, I guess.
And Trish did it for more years.
Yeah.
Trish did it for more years.
What did she come out with? TNA? No. She came out with Test. I think she was TNA. Test and Albert.
I think so. That's what I'm seeing, in my head. I'm pretty sure.
See, we don't prepare when I do this video.
No,
so we just put up the camera and then we start bullshitting.
No, she just told me today. She goes, what do you want to do? I was like, we could do this, and then we're like, women, okay. I wrote down 5. And she's like, let's do it right now. I was like, the balls of the family, I guess.
Women.
Shit.
But I just want to say one more thing about Trish is that, yes, I'm known to be a diva hater, but it's not because of their looks. I'm not a woman hater. Because I love Trish, and I think she was fucking sexy, and I love when she was on there. I mean, if I was ever gonna be digging on chicks, Trish is my number 1.
Ooh.
That's it. That's all we got for you today. That's all I have to say.
This is our top 5, or I guess 5.5, because we each took Trish. So
we both took Trish. I like the way that sounds.
No, I don't. Thank you guys. Good to see you. We'll see you next week. Have a good one.
Bye.